In a society where appearance is treated as everything, could being ugly be seen as a kind of crime? This girl with a stunning figure is currently one of the hottest streamers online. Every time she goes live, her screen fills with hearts and donations from excited fans. Her shiny blonde hair, graceful dance moves, and tight outfits highlight her seductive curves. But the real reason behind her fame isn't any of those things. It's the mask she always wears during every live stream. People simply call her the masked girl. No one knows that behind that mask is a woman with a face she believes is ugly. Kim Mo-mi has always wanted to live a life different from everyone else's, but in the end she still has to accept reality. She becomes an ordinary office worker living a dull and repetitive life, and in her mind all of this happened because of her unattractive face. Since she was a child, Mo-mi dreamed of becoming famous and showed a natural talent for dancing. As time passed, her dream only grew bigger, yet her appearance grew further and further away from what people believed a star should look like. She was mocked by classmates, and even her own mother believed the stage was not a place for someone with a face like hers. Reality eventually defeated her. The cruel laughter and harsh comments made her lose the courage to perform. She could only sit quietly in the audience, looking up at the stage with sadness and jealousy in her eyes. After graduating from college, Mo-mi became just another ordinary office worker. It seemed like her childhood dream had faded away, but in truth the dream never died. Deep inside her heart it was still burning. Mo-mi still loved the sound of applause and the cheers from a crowd, so she made a decision. She would become the girl behind the mask. Every morning, Mo-mi wakes up and squeezes onto a packed subway train to get to work. Her office isn't a pleasant place either. Male coworkers often body shame her, comparing her to a pretty female employee just to get a laugh. The only ally she has at work is Sang-sun. The two girls, both unhappy with their looks, comfort each other by secretly complaining about the rude male coworkers and judging the beautiful female colleague. Like a walking plastic surgery scanner, Mo-mi is convinced that Ariam must have had work done on her face and even breast implants to look the way she does now. For Mo-mi, the only bright spot in this dull office is Manager Park. From the moment he appears, Mo-mi's eyes can't help but follow him everywhere. Manager Park seems different from the other men. He's the only one who doesn't stare at Ariam with greedy eyes, and he even criticizes her for doing unnecessary work. Mo-mi completely falls for him during one meeting. His handsome face and confident way of presenting a plan instantly capture her heart. In Mo-mi's eyes, Manager Park is the image of a perfect man. Not only does he have the looks of a movie star, but he also seems kind and capable. The only flaw this man has is that he's already married, even though she knows she shouldn't. Mo-mi still can't stop watching him whenever he focuses on his work. Manager Park does look extremely focused, but he isn't actually working. He's carefully photoshopping a picture of himself showing off his abs. Mo-mi has always wanted to become beautiful. Every night, she spends half of her time searching for information about plastic surgery, while the other half she transforms into the masked girl, enjoying the cheers and admiration she could never receive as Kim Mo-mi. The live stream has barely begun when it is already flooded with excited greetings. Wearing her signature silver mask, Mo-mi appears incredibly seductive in a tight striped dress that hugs her body. She moves gracefully with the music, deliberately highlighting her curves. When it's time to interact with her fans, Mo-mi picks a slip of paper that says, "Chopsticks." Without hesitation, she grabs a chopstick and playfully places it between her chest. The comment section instantly explodes, with viewers joking that everyone wishes they were that lucky chopstick. The next slip says, "Milk," and the audience grows even more excited. Curious about what she will do next, Mo-mi picks up a bottle of milk and slowly pours it over her head, letting it run down her body while making teasing sounds that drive the viewers wild behind their screens. A user named Prince from a Past Life immediately sends 5,000 hearts after her bold performance, covered in milk. Mo-mi tells her fans she needs to step away for a moment to change clothes. When she returns, she has not only changed her outfit but also switched her hairstyle to a bright orange color, appearing even more striking than before. Even though the mask is Mo-mi's signature, fans are always curious about the face hidden behind it. Some viewers even guess that her real face must be extremely unattractive, but Mo-mi doesn't feel hurt by comments like that. Instead, she skillfully shifts everyone's attention to her natural curves. The trick works perfectly. The viewers seem completely hypnotized by what they see on screen. At that moment, no one cares about what her real face looks like anymore. As a new day begins, Kim Mo-mi returns to reality as just an ordinary office worker. Her report is harshly criticized by Manager Park, who scolds her for making mistakes in even the most basic accounting work. Embarrassed, Mo-mi quickly apologizes, her mood sinking after being humiliated in front of everyone. Sang-sun feels angry on her behalf, saying that Manager Park's behavior is basically workplace bullying. But that's not all. According to Sang-sun, Manager Park also suffers from extreme narcissism. His social media account is filled with photos of himself showing off his abs. The moment Mo-mi hears that, she instantly forgets how upset she was. Now there is only one thing on her mind. She desperately wants to see those famous six-pack abs for herself. After work, Mo-mi's department decides to go out for dinner together. Manager Park's way of talking keeps the atmosphere lively and relaxed. Ariam tries to pour a drink for him, but he politely refuses, which makes the deputy manager feel both jealous and annoyed. He clearly wishes Ariam would pour him a drink instead. Sang-sun has been irritated with this deputy manager for a long time. She bluntly says that his behavior is basically sexual harassment. The two start arguing back and forth. Seeing the tension rising, team leader Kim quickly changes the topic. He opens a live streaming platform on his phone and shows it to Manager Park. These days, many young people are making money through live streams. Among the rising stars, the masked girl is the hottest one right now. The moment Kim Mo-mi hears that familiar name, she nearly chokes on her drink. When Sang-sun comments that those vulgar performances are just there to help men entertain themselves, Mo-mi quickly defends it, saying it's simply how people interact online nowadays, but all she receives in return is a mocking smile from her friend. Because his wife isn't feeling well, Manager Park asks to leave the gathering early. Seeing this, Mo-mi quickly makes an excuse to leave as well. She runs after him and asks if she can get a ride. Sitting in the car with her crush, she feels both happy and nervous at the same time. Suddenly, Manager Park's wife calls him. Mo-mi awkwardly turns her head to look out the window, but she can still hear the conversation. His wife asks who he is with. Manager Park glances at Mo-mi for a moment and calmly replies that he is alone. His answer leaves Mo-mi completely confused. Why would Manager Park lie? Could it be that he has feelings for her? The thought instantly fills her with joy. She can't help but smile to herself. Mo-mi brings her confusion to her fans, asking them what they think. She just wants someone to confirm her belief that Manager Park might have feelings for her. When one viewer bluntly tells her that she's just imagining things, she immediately kicks that person out of the live stream. In front of her fans, she pretends that she has no feelings for Manager Park at all. But at work, Mo-mi behaves almost like a stalker. Her eyes constantly fixed on him wherever he goes. What she doesn't realize is that the focused look on his face isn't because he's concentrating on work, he's simply posing, trying to take the perfect selfie. When Ariam gets scolded by Manager Park, Mo-mi secretly feels happy. Her impression of him only grows better, standing in front of Ariam. She even acts as if she understands Manager Park very well. Mo-mi comforts Ariam, telling her not to feel bad about what happened earlier, then happily walks away. Mo-mi suddenly realizes she forgot her wallet. As she walks back toward the office to get it, she unexpectedly sees Manager Park. A strange sense of unease creeps into her heart, after finding her wallet. She is about to leave when she hears Manager Park's voice coming from the meeting room. What she sees next freezes her in place. She never imagined that Manager Park is secretly having an affair with Ariam. The feelings she had just begun to develop are instantly crushed. Heartbroken, Mo-mi walks down the street crying loudly, feeling as if she has just been betrayed. When it comes to heartbreak, alcohol seems like the best medicine. She drinks straight from a bottle as if it were water. One moment she is crying, the next she is laughing, before rushing into the restroom and throwing up repeatedly. Looking at her miserable and unattractive reflection in the mirror, Mo-mi decides to become the version of herself she feels most confident as, the masked girl. The sound of an alarm suddenly wakes her from deep sleep. Mo-mi is still wearing the mask, but she realizes she has no clothes on. In a panic, she rushes to her computer and discovers that she caused chaos during her live stream the night before while drunk, completely out of control. She danced wildly on camera, even stripping during the broadcast. The comments section exploded instantly. Viewers were amazed by her figure, though many joked that it was a shame she never removed the mask. Soon after, her account was locked for violating live stream rules. Mo-mi slaps herself repeatedly, cursing her own life and wishing she could disappear. In her mind, everything that happened is Ariam's fault. She begins to plan revenge against the woman she believes ruined her life. While eating with her co-workers, Mo-mi casually, accidentally, reveals that Manager Park is having an affair with Ariam. Just as she expected, the rumor spreads faster than wildfire. The men in the office grow jealous of Manager Park, while the women constantly criticize Ariam. Under the pressure of gossip, Manager Park is forced to take leave from work, and Ariam gets transferred to another department. Mo-mi never expected things to spiral this far, but by now it is too late to regret it. One night, she sees Manager Park drunk and causing trouble on the street. Wanting to help, she approaches him, but he mistakes her for a street pole and even tries to relieve himself on her. The two struggle awkwardly in the middle of the street, drawing the attention of passers-by. So Mo-mi quickly calls a taxi to take him home. Manager Park is so drunk that he has no idea what is happening. When they get out of the taxi, it suddenly starts raining. With nowhere else to go, Mo-mi brings him into a nearby motel. As she helps him remove his jacket, Manager Park suddenly pulls her into an embrace. It is only an unconscious reaction, but it sparks dark thoughts in Mo-mi's mind. Later, Manager Park wakes up and finds himself lying on a bed with Mo-mi, both of their clothes in disarray. Shocked, he quickly jumps up, quietly puts on his pants and slips out of the room, completely unaware that Mo-mi has actually been awake the entire time. Mo-mi suddenly receives an anonymous email with a strange message. When she opens it, a shocking image appears, a photo of the masked girl naked with bright red words across the screen. Mo-mi is terrified. Whoever sent the email clearly knows her real identity. Her mind begins to spiral. The stress pushes her to the edge of a breakdown. While riding the subway, a man brushes past her. Emomi immediately feels that he has touched her inappropriately. Furious, she drags the man straight to the police station to report him. The man strongly denies everything and even mocks her appearance. Enraged, Emomi grabs his hair and accuses him of being the one who sent the anonymous email, but there is no evidence, and since she assaulted him, the case ends with a forced settlement. Not long after, Emomi receives a message from Manager Park. He says he remembers nothing about what happened the night before. He also makes it clear that he doesn't want anything to do with her anymore. With those words, the last bit of hope in Emomi's heart is completely destroyed. She feels deeply disappointed, but now she has nowhere left to release her emotions. Just then, she notices that the user Prince from a past life, one of her most devoted fans, is online. Emomi quickly opens the chat window. At this moment, it feels like only a fan can give her the comfort and sense of affection she desperately needs. During a moment of sadness and loneliness, Emomi accepts an invitation to drink from a male fan with the username Handsome Monk. Even though she agrees to meet him in person, she still worries that her appearance might disappoint him. She puts on large glasses and a mask that covers most of her face. Even after they arrive at the restaurant, she refuses to take them off. The man keeps praising her live stream performances, but Emomi avoids the topic and hides behind the smoke of her drink straw. Eventually, under his pressure, she reluctantly removes the mask. After seeing her real face, the man surprisingly doesn't call her ugly. Instead, he seems confused about why she hides it. He even says her face looks natural and attractive, from the moment she was born until now. This is the first time Emomi has ever received such praise. Instantly lowering her guard, she follows the man she has just met to a bar for more drinks. The two talk happily for so long that Emomi doesn't even notice her phone ringing over and over again. When they leave the bar and pass by a motel, the man suggests renting a room so they can talk somewhere quiet. Emomi feels uneasy, but since this is the first pleasant date she has ever experienced, she still agrees to go inside with him. While the man steps out to buy beer, Emomi checks her phone and realizes that her deputy manager, Ju Oh-nam, has been repeatedly calling and texting her. Just then, Handsome Monk returns. Seeing that Emomi still looks nervous, he gently reassures her that tonight they will only drink beer and talk and he absolutely won't do anything inappropriate. Emomi doesn't believe a promise that week. Realizing he can't fool her anymore, the man drops the act and reveals his true nature. He suddenly pushes Emomi onto the bed. Terrified, Emomi quickly struggles to get up, but the man's next words turn her fear into rage. It turns out he never thought she was beautiful at all. He mocks her, saying she has already shown everything during her live streams, yet now she pretends to act proud. The words hit Emomi like a bucket of cold water. Furious, she swings her handbag straight at his face. This only makes the man even angrier. He grabs her hair and throws her back onto the bed, pressing himself on top of her while trying to assault her. Emomi fights back with all her strength and drives her knee hard into his groin, quickly draining his strength. Seeing that she is about to escape, he grabs her again and drags her back toward the bed. The two struggle fiercely. Even though she is a woman, Emomi refuses to be overpowered. In terms of fighting spirit, she may even be stronger than him. Suddenly the man lunges forward. Both of them fall to the floor together. Emomi slowly crawls up and notices that the man isn't moving anymore. When she pulls the blanket aside, she sees blood coming from his head. It turns out that during the fall, his head hit the edge of the sink. Terrified, Emomi bursts into tears. She quickly grabs her phone to call an ambulance, only to see that Deputy Manager Ju Oh-nam is still calling her again and again. Emomi answers the call and guides Ju Oh-nam to the room. The scene in front of him also terrifies Ju Oh-nam. Emomi wants to call the police, but Oh-nam immediately snatches the phone from her hand. Even though Emomi acted in self-defense, she did willingly enter the motel with the man. Even if it were ruled as accidental manslaughter, she could still face several years in prison. Tears of regret stream down Emomi's face. When she has no idea what to do, Ju Oh-nam suddenly tells her to go home and leave everything here to him. Seeing the determined yet restrained look on his face, Emomi reluctantly listens. She feels completely numb, unable to think clearly. She cannot understand how Ju Oh-nam, a coworker she is barely close to, knows about her situation and is even willing to help her hide a killing. Only then is the truth revealed. Ju Oh-nam is actually the mysterious prince from a past life, the #1 loyal fan of the masked girl. At the company, his presence is almost pitifully invisible. He suffers from severe social anxiety and is afraid of interacting with people. Outside of work, he hides in his home, enjoying the quiet comfort of being alone. This strange personality stems from years of bullying when he was a child. Back then, Ju Oh-nam was a short and overweight boy, which made him an easy target for cruel teasing. The bullying never stopped as he grew older. In fact, it only became worse. The only way he could live peacefully among others was by making himself invisible. Because the moment he drew attention to himself, the bullies would immediately strike. Over time, Ju Onam became more and more afraid of people's eyes. In a world where no one around him would listen to him, he found comfort in watching Japanese 2D adult videos. This also became one of the reasons his personality slowly twisted. On his birthday, instead of celebrating with family or friends, he buys a cake for himself and celebrates alone. The only guest at his party is his adult doll. That night, he even rewards himself with a very unusual toy. But just as he is enjoying himself, a phone call from his mother pulls him back to reality like a slap. His mother's greatest wish is to have a grandchild one day. But with Onam's strange personality, that dream may never come true. Ju Onam is most afraid of making eye contact with women. When he talks to them, he usually looks at their hands instead of their faces. At the company, he and Emomi barely interact at all. The only thing that catches his attention about her is the identical moles on both of her hands and the striking blue nail polish she always wears. However, when Ju Onam returns to his own private world at home, he becomes a completely different person. He loves watching live streams and generously sends hearts to the streamers he likes. Among all of them, the one he admires the most is the masked girl. Even though she never shows her face, when it comes to entertaining fans, she is simply the best. One day, while sending hearts during her live stream, Ju Onam suddenly notices an unbelievable coincidence. The masked girl has the exact same 2 moles on her hands. Even the nail polish color matches someone he knows. The masked girl is actually his unattractive co-worker, Kim Emomi, but in Ju Onam's eyes, Emomi suddenly becomes incredibly special. From that moment on, it feels as if he has fallen in love with her. Ever since that discovery, the first thing he does every time he gets home is turn on his computer and wait for the masked girl's live stream. Whenever rude comments appear in the chat, he immediately speaks up to defend her. His feelings grow stronger day by day. He even begins to imagine himself proudly standing beside her one day. The thought slowly grows inside his mind until it becomes an obsession. Ju Onam spends his days interacting with Emomi through the screen. His room is filled with pictures of the masked girl, yet whenever he runs into Emomi in real life, he returns to his usual invisible self. He notices that Emomi has feelings for Manager Park, but he is too cowardly to confess and can only feel silent jealousy. Just like Emomi's eyes are always fixed on Manager Park, Ju Onam's eyes are always fixed on Emomi. He even goes online to learn how to confess his love. He practices again and again, but when the moment comes, the words simply refuse to leave his mouth. One night, he finally gathers the courage to wait for Emomi after work. By coincidence, he sees Manager Park return to the office late at night, and soon Emomi appears behind him. Afraid that his suspicions are true, Ju Onam secretly follows them. What he sees in the meeting room leaves him stunned for a moment, but when he realizes the woman beneath Manager Park is not Emomi, he suddenly feels an overwhelming sense of relief and walks home smiling from ear to ear. Back at home, he eagerly waits for the masked girl's live stream. But when he sees the woman he loves getting drunk because of another man and even starting to strip during the broadcast, Ju Onam becomes furious. In his mind, Manager Park is the one to blame for everything. The next morning, Ju Onam storms over to Emomi and loudly tells her to forget that worthless married man. He then blurts out that he has been watching her for a long time and suddenly shouts, "I love you," in front of everyone at the office. After saying those words, he closes his eyes, expecting Emomi to slap him. But instead, she gently places her hand on his cheek and passionately kisses him. Emomi slowly sinks down. The sound of a belt unbuckling fills the air. Just as he reaches the peak of happiness, a coworker's voice suddenly calls his name. The beautiful scene instantly shatters. It turns out everything was just a daydream inside Ju Onam's head. In reality, he still cannot say a word to Emomi. The closest he ever gets to her is standing near her inside a crowded elevator. One day, Ju Onam sees Emomi getting into a taxi with Manager Park. He immediately follows them. When he watches the two enter a motel together, his anger explodes. It is Ju Onam who sends the strange email to Emomi afterward, but even that does not calm him down. Suddenly, a message appears on his computer screen. To his surprise, the masked girl sent him a message. Onam writes, "No matter what happens, I will always support you." His words comfort Emomi. She suggests meeting him in person, but Onam is too afraid to agree. While he hesitates, Emomi suddenly sends another message saying that Handsome Monk has invited her out for drinks, and then she logs out. Furious, Ju Onam slams his fist on the desk. He desperately searches for news about Emomi online and soon discovers that Handsome Monk has just posted an update saying he is currently with the masked girl. Not only does the man insult her appearance, he even openly talks about his plan to assault her. Enraged, Ju Onam immediately calls Emomi, but she does not answer. With no other choice, he jumps into a taxi and rushes out to find her. He keeps calling and texting Emomi. After a while, she finally answers, but by the time Ju Onam arrives, everything is already too late. The man lies motionless in a pool of blood, while Emomi is so frightened she does not know what to do. When she says she wants to call the police, Ju Onam grabs her phone, worried that she might go to prison. After thinking for a moment, Ju Onam tells Emomi to leave and promises to handle the rest himself. He puts on a raincoat and gloves, then takes a knife and walks into the bathroom. Looking at the man lying on the floor, Ju Onam silently makes up his mind. As he begins cutting the victim's shirt with the knife, the man suddenly wakes up, nearly scaring him to death. It turns out the man is still alive. Without hesitation, Ju Onam plunges the knife into his chest, like a man possessed. Ju Onam keeps stabbing again and again. Even after the man stops moving, blood splashes across his face, yet he does not stop. He continues stabbing while crying uncontrollably, until he is completely exhausted. Then he staggers toward the toilet and begins vomiting violently. The next morning, Ju Onam goes to work as if nothing has happened, but when he arrives at the office, he hears that Emomi has taken leave from work. Her sudden disappearance makes him extremely anxious. Unable to calm down, he goes to the HR department and asks for Emomi's home address. When he arrives at her apartment, Ju Onam presses the doorbell, but no one answers. Calling her phone doesn't work either. The silence only makes him feel even more uneasy and frustrated. Just then, the live stream notification pops up on his computer screen. The masked girl is live. Emomi has finally appeared online. During the stream, she calmly announces that this will be the last time she ever goes live. The moment Ju Onam hears this, he rushes to the screen to confirm it is really her. Without wasting a second, he runs straight to Emomi's apartment. Standing outside her door, he knocks frantically and calls her name again and again. The door slowly opens. Emomi stands there calmly and invites Ju Onam inside. Onam asks Emomi why she quit her job. Emomi calmly replies that after everything that happened, she cannot pretend that nothing ever occurred. Onam tries to comfort her, telling her to forget about that night. He tells her the man deserved to die. He was nothing more than a cockroach. Hearing the way he talks, Emomi immediately realizes something. Ju Onam is actually the mysterious prince from a past life. After calming down, Emomi slowly pieces everything together. It is the only explanation for why Ju Onam appeared that night. He was also the one who sent her the strange email. Emomi asks him directly why he did it. Onam finally admits the truth. He was overwhelmed by jealousy and anger after seeing Emomi enter the motel with Manager Park. Emomi suddenly bursts into laughter, but the sound is not joyful. It is bitter and filled with despair. She says she has decided to erase everything from the past and start over again. The old Kim Emomi is already dead. From now on, she will begin a completely new life. Ju Onam looks at her in pain. He does not want to become just another part of her past. As Emomi slowly walks closer, she asks him what he wants from her. Ju Onam remains silent. Seeing this, Emomi sneers and says he is no different from all the other men. Those words immediately trigger Ju Onam's anger. He suddenly throws her onto the bed and uses his strength to pin her down. When Emomi stops resisting, he quickly pulls down his pants and begins to assault her. While doing so, Ju Onam claims that he loves her and that he will always protect her, but then he notices something strange in Emomi's eyes. Curious, Ju Onam reaches out and removes the mask from her face. The moment he sees what is underneath, he freezes in shock. Emomi's face is badly swollen and wrapped in thick white bandages. Taking advantage of his moment of surprise, Emomi suddenly reverses the situation. In an instant, she turns from the victim into the one in control. Her sudden movement overwhelms Ju Onam so completely that he loses all sense of awareness. At that very moment, Emomi grabs a long needle from the table and drives it straight into Ju Onam's neck. Blood sprays everywhere, but she does not stop. Again and again, she stabs downward as if trying to release all the anger and pain she has carried inside against the entire world. Ju Onam suddenly disappears. The only person who notices something is wrong is his mother. After many failed attempts to contact her son and finding his apartment door tightly locked, Kyungja has no choice but to report him missing to the police. When the officers finally force the door open, a terrible rotten smell bursts out, making everyone cover their noses. Kyungja anxiously calls out for her son, but there is no response. Seeing an adult doll lying on Onam's bed makes her furious. She even plans to scold him once he returns. Suddenly, a police officer shouts in shock, drawing everyone's attention. When Kyungja sees what they found, she is so terrified that she collapses to the floor and faints. The police quickly contact their superiors. Inside Onam's refrigerator, they discover several decomposing human body parts. The horrifying case shocks the entire country. The police immediately begin a full investigation. At the hospital, Kyungja breaks into tears of relief when she learns that the body in the refrigerator does not belong to her son. She doesn't care who it is, as long as Onam is still alive. It has been 2 weeks since she last spoke with him. In her eyes, Onam is a completely normal person who always got along well with his co-workers and people around him. So when the police suggest that Onam might be the murderer, Kyungja explodes in anger. Her son trembles at the sight of blood. So how could he possibly commit murder? After angrily scolding the officers, she drives them out of her house. Unable to get any useful information from his mother, the police decide to investigate Onam's workplace instead, where they uncover an important clue. Before disappearing, Ju Onam had gone to see his co-worker Emomi. Sang-sun tells the police that Emomi once mentioned Onam might have been following her. When the police go to Emomi's home, they discover she has already moved away. No one knows where she went. The only thing people know is that before leaving, Emomi underwent plastic surgery. The police begin to suspect that Onam and Emomi may have run away together. Back at Onam's apartment, investigators find more than 2,000 illegal pornographic videos on his computer, along with multiple sex dolls and adult toys. These discoveries suggest that Onam may have had a deeply distorted understanding of sexuality, where his desires could manifest in unhealthy ways such as obsession or stalking. When Kyungja sees the news report on TV, she angrily turns it off and calls the police to shout at them. She reported the case hoping they would find her son. Yet now they dare to turn him into a murderer and a perverted stalker. Even with all the evidence laid out in front of her, she stubbornly believes her son is the most gentle and kind person in the world. If the useless police cannot find him, then she will have to do it herself. To find her son, Kyungja realizes she first needs to understand him. A computer holds the most clues. But someone from her generation has no idea how to use such a thing, so she signs up for computer classes, starting from the very basics, learning to type, browse the internet, and send emails. Her desire to find her son gives her incredible determination. After a period of hard work, she finally learns how to search for the information she needs. The masked girl becomes the key person she wants to investigate. However, Kyungja quickly realizes that young people today seem to speak a completely different language online. She can barely understand what they are saying. To gather information on social media, she forces herself to learn their slang. She writes down all the trendy words young people use in a notebook and memorizes them one by one. Once she feels prepared, Kyungja closes her small restaurant, withdraws all her savings from the bank and begins her journey to find her missing son. During her search, she meets Teddy, the administrator of the Masked Girls fan forum. Both of them share the same goal. That is finding Emomi. Teddy sends her a video and claims the woman in the clip is very likely the masked girl. The dance style and body shape look quite similar, though the chest appears a little unnatural. Teddy insists he is confident because he clearly remembers Emomi's very distinctive figure. Hearing this, Kyungja immediately loses interest. She finds it hard to trust the words of someone who sounds like a pervert. The search for Emomi once again reaches a dead end. That night, Kyungja dreams that her son finally returns home. Overjoyed, she rushes forward and hugs Onam tightly, but when she tries to see his face clearly, his head suddenly falls to the ground. Kyungja wakes up in terror, her heart filled with a deep sense of unease. At that exact moment, her phone rings. The police ask her to come and identify a body. When Kyungja lifts the white sheet and sees her son's face beneath it, she completely breaks down. She screams and cries in despair, pouring all of her hatred onto Kim Emomi. The main suspect in the gruesome dismemberment murder case is now dead. The only person still closely connected to the case is Emomi. The police are now focusing all their efforts on finding her, but they are not the only ones searching. Kyungja is also hunting for Emomi. For her, her son is the reason she lives, the only purpose left in her life. Kyungja grew up in deep poverty. To her, love was a luxury she could never afford. She married Onam's father through an arranged match, but right after the wedding, the man ran off to live with another woman and never earned a single penny for the family. Their marriage fell apart after 3 years, yet Kyungja did not feel heartbroken, because she still had her son. From then on, she took on every job she could find, working as a housemaid, washing dishes, cleaning toilets, delivering goods, even driving a taxi. As long as she could earn money to raise Onam, no job was too dirty or too hard for her. After years of exhausting work, she finally saved enough money to open a small restaurant. Life became more stable, but competition was fierce. Kyungja was never afraid of conflict if it meant earning a living. All she wanted was to give Onam a good life. However, Kyungja was not a very perceptive mother. She knew her son's belongings sometimes disappeared. She saw the bruises on his body, clear signs that he was being bullied, but she never truly understood what was happening. Instead of confronting the problem, she simply invited a shaman to perform rituals to pray for his safety. The only thing that reassured her was that Onam was an excellent student, even though he never attended any tutoring centers. As Onam grew older, Kyungja continued to control and protect him in an extreme way. She bathed him, took him shopping for clothes, and even after he started working, she still did not want him to move out and live on his own. She used every excuse she could think of to stop him, but Onam had grown up. He no longer allowed his mother to control his life. Kyungja always believed that one day her son would return to being the obedient boy he once was. She never imagined that he would suddenly disappear and then vanish from her life forever. Now that her son is dead, the only purpose left in her life is revenge. Kyungja drives to the house of Emomi's mother. She pounds on the door and curses like a madwoman, but all she learns is that Emomi and her mother have already cut off contact with each other. Not only does she gain no useful information, she is even taken to the police station for causing a disturbance. With no leads left, Kyungja decides to seek help from the gods. When the fortune teller sees the thick stack of cash she brings, he immediately performs a ritual and claims he has found the place where Emomi is hiding. Coincidentally, the location matches the same woman Teddy once showed her in a video. Kyungja takes the girl's photo and begins asking around everywhere, even pretending to be the girl's mother to gain people's trust. Eventually she finds the address of the company where the girl once worked, but when she arrives, She learns the girl has already quit to look for a job that pays more money. She never told anyone where she would go next. However, with a face and body like hers, it is not hard to guess what kind of job could earn that much money. After hearing this, Kyungja heads straight to the red light district to continue her search. But finding someone in such a large and crowded place is far from easy. One night, she stops in front of a small food stall. Through the thick smoke rising from the grill, she suddenly spots the face she has been searching for day and night. Forgetting about her hunger, she immediately follows the girl. But before she can catch her, security guards block her way. Kyungja has no choice but to wait outside the building. The long hours of exhaustion quickly make her fall asleep. In her dream, she sees her son crying out for help. Ju-Oh-nam is being chased by the masked girl who repeatedly stabs him with a knife. Kyungja tries to run toward her son to save him, but a pair of invisible hands grab her legs and hold her down. No matter how hard she struggles, she cannot move. She sees her son's face covered in blood, accusing her of not saving him. Kyungja feels like she cannot breathe. When her son asks if she is secretly happy that he is dead, she can only cry and apologize over and over again. When she wakes up from the nightmare, her determination for revenge becomes even stronger. At that moment, the girl walks out of the nightclub. Kyungja quietly follows her all the way home. She waits the entire night, then follows her again the next morning to a hair salon. As she watches the girl closely, she suddenly notices the necklace around her neck. It is the exact same necklace worn by the masked girl. At that moment, Kyungja becomes completely convinced that this woman is the person she has been searching for, the one who killed her son. Her revenge plan begins. Kyungja gets a job as a taxi driver and spends a huge amount of money to buy a gun. After preparing everything, she parks her taxi outside the nightclub where the girl works and quietly waits for her prey to walk into the trap. The girl gets into the taxi without realizing the terrible fate that awaits her. When they reach a deserted road, Kyungja pretends to drop her phone and asks the girl to pick it up for her. As soon as the girl lowers her guard, Kyungja presses a stun baton against her neck and knocks her unconscious. When the girl slowly wakes up, she realizes she has been kidnapped by a strange woman. Kyungja tears the tape from her mouth. The girl immediately screams for help. Kyungja begins shouting loudly as well, mocking her cries. Only then does the girl realize she has been brought to a remote place where no one will come to save her. She has no idea who the woman in front of her is or why she is doing this. When the girl continues to act defiant, Kyungja slaps her again and again until she finally becomes quiet. Kyungja shows her a photo of Ju-Oh-nam, but the girl's confused expression only makes her angrier. Kyungja then lays everything out. She declares that the girl is Kim Mo-mi, presses a mask onto her face and compares her with photos of the masked girl. No matter how many times the girl insists that her name is Kim Chanae and not Kim Mo-mi, Kyungja refuses to listen. She only believes what she wants to believe. In her mind, this woman is the masked girl. Kyungja raises her gun and points it at the girl. Before pulling the trigger to avenge her son, she explains that the reason she recognized her was because of the necklace. Hearing this, the girl looks at the photo of the masked girl and suddenly bursts into laughter. Kim Chanae claims that she knows exactly who Kim Mo-mi is. About 2 months ago, a new girl appeared at the nightclub where Chanae worked. Her stage name was Ariam. Before Ariam arrived, Chanae had been the most popular hostess in the club. But the moment Ariam showed up, everything changed. She quickly stole Chanae's spotlight. Ariam not only had a beautiful face and a stunning body, but her singing and dancing skills were also incredibly professional. It was as if she had been born to stand on stage. Chanae was no longer the center of attention. Even her regular customers began drifting toward Ariam. The situation filled Chanae with both anger and jealousy. One day, Chanae confronted Ariam in private to warn her to stay in her lane. But Ariam responded with an arrogant attitude that only made things worse. Furious, Chanae slapped her across the face. Unfortunately for her, Ariam was not someone who would simply take a beating. She grabbed Chanae and immediately slapped her back. Within seconds, the two women were fighting fiercely. Chanae rushed forward and grabbed Ariam's hair, yelling that she had obviously had plastic surgery yet still pretended to be naturally beautiful. Ariam refused to back down. She grabbed Chanae's hair in return and fired back that Chanae had no right to talk. Since she had also had work done herself, the two women pulled each other's hair and struggled wildly, neither willing to give up, until the club owner finally appeared and shouted at them to stop. Chanae complained to the boss that Ariam had been stealing her customers, but the owner simply brushed it off. In her eyes, this was Chanae's own problem. Losers always like to blame others. Suddenly Ariam spoke up. She calmly admitted fault and even apologized to Chanae. But just before leaving, she turned back and flashed a mocking smile, leaving Chanae furious but helpless. The necklace Chanae is wearing now actually belongs to Ariam. She picked it up after their fight. That very day, Chanae quit her job at the nightclub. It was also the last time she ever saw Ariam. Seeing that Kyungja still seemed doubtful, Chanae told her to look carefully at the chest of the masked girl. Those curves were completely natural. Meanwhile, Ariam's body was full of silicone. Chanae's eyes showed no sign of lying, so Kyungja finally decided to believe her. After all, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Chanae agreed to help her find Emomi. The two women returned to the nightclub, only to discover that Emomi had already quit her job. Chanae suggested calling the police. But Kyungja immediately rejected the idea. She no longer trusted the police. She wanted to take justice into her own hands and avenge her son. If Ariam had moved to a place that paid more, it likely meant she was now working as a private hostess in a more exclusive club. Chanae planned to investigate the high-end nightclubs around the city, but to do that, she would need money. Kyungja didn't want to spend a single cent and planned to search on her own. Chanae quickly stopped her, explaining that doing so would only attract attention. If Emomi learned that a strange older woman was looking for her, she would immediately disappear again. Realizing the logic, Kyungja reluctantly agreed to pay Chanae and told her to report every update. After Kyungja left, Chanae headed to an apartment building and knocked on one of the doors. The person who opened it was none other than Ariam, the very same Kim Emomi that Kyungja had been searching for. It turns out that everything Chanae told Kyungja was a lie. It was true that she had met Emomi at the nightclub, but the truth was very different from the story she told. The two women were the same age and surprisingly had a lot in common. Instead of competing with each other, they quickly became a perfect duo on stage, performing together with incredible chemistry. They were almost like twin sisters. Both of them understood what it felt like to desperately want to be beautiful, to be hurt by others because of their appearance, and to long for a chance to start life over. Their pasts and experiences were strikingly similar. The necklace Chanae now wears was actually placed around her neck by Emomi herself, a symbol of the deep friendship between them. But one day, Emomi suddenly stopped showing up at the nightclub without telling anyone. When Chanae went to her apartment to check on her, she discovered that Emomi was extremely sick but refused to go to the hospital. It wasn't that Emomi didn't want to go, she simply couldn't. Emomi then told Chanae the truth: she had killed someone. Seeing the serious look on her friend's face, Chanae realized she wasn't joking. Emomi told her everything, explaining the events that had led her to this point. Instead of being afraid, Chanae felt even more sympathy for her. She hugged Emomi tightly and burst into tears. From that moment on, Chanae decided she would protect her friend no matter what, so when she later spoke to Kyungja, Chanae pretended that she was gathering information about Emomi. In reality, she was doing the opposite, secretly telling people to hide Emomi's whereabouts. As soon as Kyungja left, Chanae rushed to warn Emomi. She urged her to leave immediately, because if Kyungja found her, she would definitely be killed. But Emomi had nowhere else to go. She couldn't return to her mother for help, because her mother might call the police the moment she saw her. Running abroad wasn't possible either. The two women suddenly found themselves trapped with no way out. After leaving Emomi's apartment, Chanae had no idea that someone was secretly following her. When she arrived home, she saw her useless boyfriend sitting there playing video games as usual. She had been gone the entire night, yet he hadn't even noticed. The sight made her both furious and helpless. She thought about how she worked hard every day to support him, while he couldn't even be bothered to feed the dog. Her patience finally snapped. Chanae told him to get out of her house, but the shameless man simply laughed and said he didn't feel like leaving. Then he suddenly asked if she had been the one who posted that photo, the photo that had destroyed his life. Those words shocked Chanae. Memories from many years ago came rushing back. Back in high school, Chanae had transferred to a new school. Because she felt insecure about her appearance, she didn't dare approach anyone. Her classmates didn't like her either, partly because the idol group she liked was different from the ones they liked. One day, a boy named Buyong walked into the classroom. Chanae immediately noticed him, but she could only admire him from afar, never daring to speak. They met again during the summer of their 11th grade year. Chanae was working part-time at a convenience store. To her surprise, Buyong remembered her name. He casually said it was lucky to have someone he knew working there. At first Chanae didn't understand, but when she saw him and his friends trying to buy alcohol, she quickly realized what he meant. Completely charmed by Buyong's good looks, she agreed to sell them alcohol even though they were underage. From that day on, Buyong often came by the store, even though their conversations were brief. Chanae felt incredibly happy just talking to him. One day after work, one of Buyong's friends came to pick her up. Buyong had invited her to his birthday party. They took her to a bar, a place that felt completely out of place for someone as ordinary as her, but Buyong warmly welcomed her, making her feel special. When he saw her drinking too quickly, he even showed concern for her. Later, as she stepped out of the restroom, she saw Buyong waiting for her. He gently grabbed her hand and said he had something important to tell her. She looked at him with anticipation, but the words he spoke were not a confession of love. He was asking to borrow money. Blinded by his charm, Chanae agreed. Buyong happily hugged her, making her feel like helping him had been worth it. He promised to repay her within a week, but in reality, whenever he needed money, he simply came back to ask for more. Chanae never received a single cent back. Buyong was training to become a member of a boy idol group. Sometime later, while Chanae was still struggling to make ends meet through part-time jobs, she suddenly saw Buyong appear on television as a newly debuted idol. She sent him a message congratulating him, but he completely ignored it. When she tried to meet him in person, he pretended not to recognize her at all. Still unwilling to give up, Chun-ae went to the place where he lived, by chance. She overheard Buyong talking with a friend. That was when she learned the truth. He had been using her all along, treating her like nothing more than an ATM. The only fool was her, believing he actually liked her and willingly giving him the money she had worked so hard to earn. Furious and humiliated, Chun-ae decided she would destroy him. She uploaded photos of Buyong partying and behaving badly onto social media. News quickly spread about him borrowing money, drinking underage, smoking, and getting into fights. The scandal was enough to ruin a rising idol star. Buyong was forced to leave the group. After that, Chun-ae underwent plastic surgery and began a completely new life. Once she became beautiful, she only worked in jobs where appearance mattered. One day while performing at a supermarket promotion event, she unexpectedly ran into Buyong again. The confident and handsome idol image was gone. Now he looked like a hopeless loser with nothing left. Chun-ae knew she should stay away from him, but her curiosity got the better of her. She approached him first. Buyong couldn't believe that the unattractive girl he had once used had transformed into someone so beautiful. Without realizing it, Chun-ae allowed him to enter her life again, a decision she would soon regret deeply. Buyong owned nothing but an old, broken car. His past as a former idol made him too ashamed to get a normal job. Chun-ae began to feel guilty and allowed him to stay at her place until he found work, but he never intended to find a job at all. He spent his days playing video games and living off her money. When Chun-ae finally tried to kick him out, Buyong revealed that he had discovered the truth, that she was the one who had posted the photos that destroyed his career. Chun-ae desperately denied it, but Buyong had already confirmed that the account belonged to her. Furious, he punched her hard in the stomach, knocking her to the ground. Holding a rope in his hand, he declared he wouldn't leave until he received proper compensation. Buyong brutally beat Chun-ae, intentionally avoiding her face so she could still go to work and support him. Desperate and injured, Chun-ae went to find Emomi and discovered her preparing to leave. She begged Emomi to take her along. The two women returned to Chun-ae's house to gather her belongings. Chun-ae quietly opened the door and saw Buyong sleeping. She quickly took important documents and valuable jewelry, even picked up her dog. It seemed like they were about to escape successfully, but suddenly, Buyong woke up. As Chun-ae tried to run out the door, Buyong grabbed her hair and violently dragged her back inside. Realizing she was trying to escape, he decided to teach her a lesson. When the dog bit his leg to protect her, he kicked it away without hesitation. Enraged, Chun-ae grabbed her bag and repeatedly struck him, but Buyong easily overpowered her. He slapped her to the ground and continued hitting her mercilessly, shouting for her to die. Just when Chun-ae was about to lose consciousness, Emomi suddenly appeared behind Buyong and attacked him. But Buyong was far stronger than her. He easily threw her aside and smashed her head repeatedly against the table. While he was momentarily distracted, Emomi grabbed a bedside lamp and struck him in the head. Then she wrapped the rope around his neck and pulled as hard as she could, but alone. She didn't have the strength to subdue him. At that critical moment, Chun-ae regained consciousness. She grabbed the other end of the rope. The two women looked at each other and pulled with all their strength until Buyong finally stopped moving. Meanwhile, Kyungja tried to call Chun-ae but couldn't reach her. Just then, Teddy sent her a message. He had secretly taken photos of Chun-ae leaving Emomi's apartment and confirmed that Emomi was the mysterious masked girl. Realizing she had been tricked, Kyungja rushed to Chun-ae's house. There she saw Chun-ae and Emomi preparing to drive away. She decided she would kill them both and followed them. The two women eventually stopped by a riverside. Suddenly, a car horn sounded behind them. Kyungja stepped out of her car and pointed a gun at them. She had been waiting for this moment for a long time. She finally could make the person who killed her son die painfully. Suddenly Chun-ae spoke up, claiming that she was the one who killed Ju Oh-nam. Seeing that both women claimed to be Kim Emomi, Kyungja didn't care who was telling the truth anymore. She decided she would kill them both. She loaded the gun and pulled the trigger, but the gun didn't fire. Taking advantage of her confusion, Emomi and Chun-ae rushed toward her. At that exact moment, the gun suddenly went off, knocking Kyungja backward from the recoil. Emomi struggled to sit up and realized that Chun-ae had been shot. As Kyungja crawled toward the gun again, Emomi grabbed her, but the older woman threw her aside. Determined not to let her get the weapon, Emomi grabbed her legs and wrapped her arm tightly around her neck. Kyungja fought back fiercely. She managed to grab the gun and struck Emomi away with it. She fired again, but Emomi pushed the gun aside at the last second, causing the bullet to miss. The two women continued struggling, one fighting to survive, the other determined to take revenge. Just as Emomi was about to suffocate, Chun-ae used a rock to smash Kyungja's head, saving her friend at the last moment. But Chun-ae collapsed immediately afterward. She had no strength left. Emomi held Chun-ae's body and cried in despair. Then she placed the unconscious Kyungja into a car and pushed it into the river. 1 year later, Emomi suddenly turned herself in. She had always dreamed of standing in front of a crowd, surrounded by flashing lights and people watching her. Now that dream had finally come true. But in a way she had never imagined, the mysterious masked girl, the notorious serial killer has finally been revealed. Overnight, she becomes the most talked about name in the country. Reporters and media crews gather outside the police station day and night, hoping to uncover any new detail about the woman behind the mask. Even something as ordinary as her lunch becomes a subject of public curiosity. Her case doesn't just dominate the news, it also sparks unexpected waves in the beauty and fashion industries. Experts analyze every detail of her face. While the clothes she once wore suddenly become a trend, the same outfits quickly sell out everywhere. Before the trial even begins, large crowds gather outside the courthouse, protesting and demanding harsh punishment for Emomi. During the trial, her defense lawyer argues that Emomi committed the murders after being constantly humiliated for her appearance, and that she had acted in self-defense when she was nearly assaulted, but the public is not convinced. Critics argue that if being ugly were enough reason to kill someone, then no one in the entire country would still be alive. In the end, the court rules that Emomi's crimes are extremely serious. The judge announces that she must be permanently separated from society. Kim Emomi is sentenced to life in prison. After going through a strict inspection, Emomi is finally led into the prison cell. The other inmates immediately become curious about her surgically altered face. Thanks to her deep knowledge of cosmetic surgery, Emomi quickly blends in with everyone. She even gives them advice on what parts of their faces they should fix to look more beautiful. The group is chatting happily when suddenly the crowd quickly scatters, seeing Emomi standing there confused. Her kind cellmate quietly explains what just happened. The group that just arrived is Eun-suk and her followers. Eun-suk is the boss of this prison. Even the guards obey her without question. She has connections with powerful politicians and even several corporate chairmen. The reason Eun-suk ended up in prison is chilling. She helped carry out a brutal murder. She once hired someone to chop her husband and his mistress into pieces. After hearing this story, Emomi shows no emotion at all. Suddenly, Eun-suk waves her hand and calls Emomi over. Without warning, she slaps Emomi so hard that she falls to the ground. Eun-suk did it because Emomi looks exactly like the woman who seduced her husband. She coldly warns Emomi to stay out of her sight if she doesn't want to die. At lunchtime, Emomi notices a woman who is not given any food. It turns out Eun-suk has made a prison rule: anyone guilty of adultery must starve for 3 days. Emomi quietly walks over to the woman and scoops some of her own rice into the woman's tray. This action is a direct challenge to Eun-suk. Yet Emomi shows no fear at all. Ever since entering prison, all of her emotions seem to have gone numb. When Emomi is working in the laundry area, Eun-suk's followers suddenly show up. Everyone quickly leaves, even the guards disappear. Faced with their mocking smiles, Emomi simply glares at them once and continues doing her work. As she bends down to take clothes out of the washing machine, the woman with curly hair suddenly grabs her and shoves her head inside. They warn her to stop causing trouble and just behave herself, but Emomi calmly walks up to the curly-haired woman and suddenly slams her own head straight into the woman's face. Then she grabs her by the hair and starts beating her. The other 2 women rush in to stop her, but they can't hold her back. They only meant to teach Emomi a small lesson, but they didn't expect to run into someone this reckless. Emomi is beaten until her whole body is covered in bruises. On top of that, she is punished and thrown into solitary confinement. Even though she was attacked by a group, she is the only one locked up. A guard warns her not to touch anyone who belongs to Eun-suk again, but Emomi doesn't see it that way. She plans to deal with Eun-suk in her own way. After she is released, Emomi goes straight to find the curly-haired woman and attacks her again. She fights like a madwoman. No matter how badly she is beaten, she doesn't care. All she wants is to keep punching that woman. The guards rush in, and Emomi is thrown back into solitary. 15 days later, Emomi is released again. The moment she walks out with her lunch tray, she charges at the curly-haired woman and beats her violently. Even when the guards drag her away, she still tries to kick the woman a few more times. This pattern keeps repeating. Every time Emomi is released, she goes straight to attack the curly-haired woman. Then she is locked back in solitary again. The isolation cell starts to feel like her second home. The guards have no way to deal with her, because they can't keep her locked up forever. Emomi becomes a nightmare for Eun-suk's followers. The moment they see her face, they turn around and run in fear. The curly-haired woman no longer dares to act arrogant. She keeps apologizing to Emomi and begs her not to hit her again. Just as Emomi's fist is about to land, Eun-suk suddenly appears and tells her to stop. In the end, Eun-suk is the one who gives in first. She proposes that both sides stop fighting and leave each other alone. That is exactly what Emomi wants. From now on, no one in the prison will dare to touch her again. Emomi walks away proudly, even flashing a small victory sign to her cellmate. 12 years have passed. The side effects from her cosmetic surgeries have completely changed Emomi's face. One day, all the inmates are gathered in the hall to welcome a new prison warden. The woman is a devoted Christian. Her introduction speech almost feels like a religious sermon. After the ceremony, she holds each prisoner's hands and tells them that no matter what they have done in the past, everyone here is the same, everyone is a child of God. But Emomi doesn't care about any of it. At lunchtime, a young girl walks over to Emomi's table. She has just arrived at the prison today. To her, Emomi is a legendary figure she has always admired. Emomi still shows no emotion at all, until a guard approaches and tells her she has received a letter. It is the first letter Momi has received since entering prison. The sender signs it as someone who loves the masked girl, but the content inside is strange. It isn't really a letter at all. It's a newspaper article about genetic violence. Momi opens the remaining piece of paper and reads the message written inside. Now it's your turn to understand what it feels like to have your child destroyed. Momi's expression suddenly changes. She never expected that someone would know about the child she once had. The day Kyungja tried to kill her, Momi had already discovered that she was pregnant with Ju Onam's child. Even so, she chose to keep the baby, before going to prison. Momi brought the child to her mother and asked her to take care of her. She named the little girl Kim Mo. From a very young age, Mo loved makeup and dressing up. Her grandmother often said the girl looked a lot like her mother, but she never told Mo anything about who her mother really was. Living with her grandmother made Mo feel constant pressure. The old woman was always cold and strict. Mo was not allowed to put her elbows on the table or make any noise while eating. The food her grandmother cooked didn't suit her taste either. What she really liked was the spicy rice cake sold in front of the school gate. One day, something happened that made Mo learn the truth about her mother. While she was happily playing with her classmates, their parents suddenly came and pulled their children away. Mo overheard them telling the kids not to play with her anymore, because her mother was the masked girl. When she got home, Mo immediately searched online to find out who the masked girl was. News articles and reports quickly appeared on the screen. Only then did she realize that her mother was known as a murderer. At that moment, Mo imagined a terrifying image in her mind, a masked woman covered in blood, holding her tightly in her arms. Curiosity and the desperate desire to understand her mother pushed the young girl to act without thinking. Based on what she read online, Mo began pretending to be the masked girl. She imagined how her mother had been mocked, how she had killed people. She even put on revealing clothes and danced, copying the masked girl's livestream performances. Her grandmother walked in and saw everything. Furious, the old woman dragged Mo outside and locked the gate. No matter how much the girl cried and begged for forgiveness, in the end, the grandmother's heart softened. She finally brought Mo inside and took care of her. Even though she always appeared cold, she actually cared deeply about her granddaughter. But whenever Mo asked about her mother, the old woman refused to say much. Rumors about Mo's mother spread everywhere. Her classmates began isolating and teasing her. The one who spread the rumor turned out to be Mo's best friend. Mo confronted the girl and shoved her to the ground without hesitation. Parents began complaining about Mo, saying they didn't want their children studying with the daughter of a murderer. Under pressure from the school, her grandmother decided they had to move away. But no matter where they went, the rumors followed them. Mo gradually became more violent, punishing anyone who dared to talk badly about her. Before she left for school one day, her grandmother warned her not to cause any more trouble. The last time, the old woman had barely managed to keep her out of juvenile detention. When Mo stayed silent, her grandmother added that she must never grow up to be like her mother. Those words instantly made Mo angry. She snapped back that the woman everyone talked about was not her mother. At her new school, the moment she introduced herself, the class burst into laughter at her name. Mo didn't care. She chose to sit next to Yi-chun because she didn't want to sit beside a boy. At lunchtime, Mo sat alone and ate quietly by herself. Then Yi-chun, the girl who shared her desk, came over and sat beside her. Yi-chun told Mo that the rest of the class was already boycotting her, but she was willing to be Mo's friend. But the truth was that Yi-chun was not popular either. Before Mo arrived, she had been the one everyone liked to bully. But Mo rejected the offer without hesitation. She had no intention of making friends. She didn't think she needed any. The person Mo felt closest to was the old woman who sold spicy rice cakes outside her old school. She was the only person Mo ever felt comfortable around. One day, it was Mo and Yi-chun's turn to stay after class and clean the classroom. While they were sweeping, Yi-chun suddenly grabbed something and ran outside. When Mo went to throw out the trash, she discovered a group of girls surrounding Yi-chun and bullying her. Mo glanced at them once, then coldly turned away as if it had nothing to do with her. The girl leading the group noticed Mo dumping trash nearby and got annoyed, telling her to get lost. Mo acted as if she didn't hear anything and calmly continued doing her work. This only made the girls even angrier. Suddenly, Mo muttered that they were all crazy. When the leader stepped closer, Mo grabbed a picture frame nearby, smashed it on the ground, picked up a sharp piece of glass and threatened to kill anyone who came near her. Her crazed look scared the bullies so badly that they quickly ran away. Mo's hand was cut by the broken glass and started bleeding. Yi-chun rushed over and tried to stop the bleeding, while helping her. Yi-chun suddenly noticed several old scars on Mo's wrist. After Mo saved her from the bullies, Yi-chun desperately wanted to become her friend. She even thought about cutting her own wrist just to have something in common with Mo, but she was too afraid of the pain, so she simply pressed her fingernails hard into her skin to leave marks. The next day at school, Yi-chun happily showed Mo the marks on her arm. When Mo went to the restroom, Yi-chun followed closely behind her. Yi-chun's persistence began to soften Mo's attitude. She eventually accepted her as a friend. Yi-chun wanted to know more about Mo, she could sense that Miyamo was hiding something deep inside her heart. Yi-chan tried to start a conversation, saying she once wished she could kill her mother because her mother refused to let her rescue a stray cat, but this only annoyed Miyamo. To her, that kind of problem was trivial. Feeling that no one could truly understand her, Miyamo grabbed her bag and walked away. Hearing this, Yi-chan suddenly became angry. She said she had once almost stabbed her father because he would come home drunk and beat her and her mother. The world wasn't only cruel to Miyamo. Just then, it suddenly started raining. The two girls ran together to find shelter. Yi-chan confessed that she sometimes wished her parents would die, because the woman at home was actually her stepmother. Hearing this confession made Miyamo slowly open up as well. The two girls hooked their pinkies and promised to keep each other's secrets. Miyamo finally admitted that she didn't know who her father was, and that her mother was in prison. She had never heard her mother's voice and didn't even know what she looked like. Yi-chan looked at her with sympathy. Suddenly, she leaned over and kissed Miyamo on the cheek, telling her that she was special. After sharing their secrets, the two became closer than ever. In class, they were even punished by the teacher for joking around. But both of them were still laughing happily. Yi-chan was curious about why Miyamo's mother was in prison. Miyamo didn't hide it and calmly said that her mother had killed someone. The answer shocked Yi-chan, but she didn't want Miyamo to think she was afraid of her. She quickly changed the topic and complained that her father had caused another huge fight at home the night before, smashing everything. Miyamo suddenly asked if Yi-chan wanted to run away from home together. Yi-chan became excited at the idea of living with her best friend, but the harsh reality was that neither of them had any money. Even though Yi-chan acted like she didn't care that Miyamo's mother was a murderer, she couldn't resist her curiosity. She secretly searched online to find out who Miyamo's mother really was. Soon she found an article about the daughter of the infamous masked girl, a murderer who had once shocked the entire country. The article was about a girl involved in school violence. That girl turned out to be Miyamo. Instead of feeling afraid, Yi-chan somehow liked Miyamo even more. Determined to run away together, Yi-chan even stole her younger brother's baby walker and sold it to get money, but the little cash they managed to collect was nowhere near enough. Miyamo suddenly thought about the rice cake lady at her old school and wanted to ask her for help, but Yi-chan insisted that they should solve everything themselves. Yi-chan began selling idol photos and autographs she had collected. While she was making a deal with a younger kid, a group of high school girls walked by and immediately taught her a harsh lesson. Thinking she was scamming children for money, it turned out that a classmate had reported her to them. That girl had always hated Yi-chan because Yi-chan once called her a bedwetter. Being bullied, Yi-chan blurted out without thinking that they had no idea who Miyamo's mother was. If they kept this up, they might even lose their lives. Meanwhile, Miyamo was at a cafe. When she noticed a customer leaving behind a laptop, she secretly grabbed it and tried to leave. Unfortunately, security caught her before she could escape. At the police station, Miyamo's grandmother arrived and immediately slapped her across the face. The old woman shouted that Miyamo should just leave home and never come back. Miyamo didn't want to stay with her grandmother anymore either. She ran out of the police station crying uncontrollably. With nowhere else to go, Miyamo called Yi-chan and asked if she could stay at her house for one night. But Yi-chan said her father was causing chaos at home again and she couldn't bring Miyamo over. With no place to go, Miyamo climbed back into the school and spent the night sleeping in the classroom. The next morning, while washing her face in the bathroom, Miyamo overheard several students gossiping about her. They were saying that Miyamo was the daughter of the masked girl, the infamous serial killer. Even the story about her being transferred from other schools because of violence had been exposed. At that moment, Miyamo's grandmother arrived at the classroom looking for her. Everyone assumed Yi-chan knew where Miyamo was. But Yi-chan had lost contact with her after the phone call the night before. She ran everywhere searching for Miyamo but couldn't find any trace of her. No matter how many times she called, Miyamo wouldn't answer. What Yi-chan didn't know was that Miyamo was standing quietly on a street corner watching her. At that moment, Miyamo realized that everything Yi-chan had told her about her family was a lie. Her father was not a violent drunk, and the woman at home was not a stepmother. They were her real parents, and they loved her very much. Yi-chan had lied simply to get close to Miyamo. Seeing Yi-chan happily walking with her family, Miyamo felt completely betrayed. Miyamo called Yi-chan and asked her to come meet. When they faced each other, Miyamo demanded to know why Yi-chan had done it, why she had spread those rumors. In a burst of anger, Miyamo pushed Yi-chan to the ground and began attacking her. In prison, Emomi keeps reading the news article about her daughter again and again. She finally decides that she must escape. She quietly watches the guard. When the woman isn't paying attention, she signals to her cellmate and secretly hides a roll of cloth under her clothes. Pretending she needs to use the restroom, she actually sneaks away to get rid of the cloth she just stole. After checking the air vent and making sure no one is around, Emomi takes the cloth out and drops it outside. She plans to carry out her escape during gardening duty. When the time comes, she glances at her cellmate, who immediately understands and starts screaming, pretending she has been bitten by an insect to distract everyone. Taking advantage of the chaos, Emomi hides a tool in her sleeve and tells the guard that they are running out of seedlings so she can go to the storage room. She quickly runs to where she hid the cloth, ties the tool to one end, stuffs stones inside to make it heavier, and throws the rope over the wall. Emomi starts climbing, but after only a few steps she is discovered. The alarm blares through the prison, yet she refuses to give up. Unfortunately, the cloth cannot support her weight and suddenly tears apart, sending her crashing to the ground. Attempting to escape is a serious crime. The furious warden orders Emomi's solitary confinement to be extended beyond the normal limit. In the dark isolation cell, the warden gives her a Bible, believing that Emomi was tempted by Satan. Emomi remains locked away for more than a month, and then something strange happens. She begins kneeling and praying in the cell, keeping the same posture for an entire day. When she is finally released, she seems like a completely different person. During her time in isolation, Emomi believes that God's light has reached her and saved her. She now sees herself as a child of God. She has even chosen to give speeches to inspire other prisoners. A gentle smile appears on her face, something no one has ever seen before. Her sudden transformation shocks everyone, even her cellmate can hardly believe it. One day, they notice Eun-suk crying uncontrollably. Her daughter needs a kidney transplant, but they still cannot find a matching donor. Hearing this, Emomi approaches Eun-suk and offers to donate her own kidney to save the girl. After 3 rounds of tests, the hospital confirms that Emomi is a suitable donor. Eun-suk is deeply grateful and wants to repay her, but Emomi says she doesn't want anything in return. The prison later organizes a special rehabilitation program, inviting volunteers from outside to talk with the inmates and read the Bible together. Emomi calmly shares her story and says she has finally found peace in her heart. However, just as the program ends, Emomi encounters someone she never expected to see again, a person who shatters the fragile peace she fought so hard to find. The woman reveals that she is the mother of Ju Oh-nam. The mysterious letter Emomi once received was sent by her. Emomi stares in shock at the elderly woman, unable to understand how she could still be alive. It turns out that after Emomi stuffed her into the car and pushed it into the water, the woman suddenly regained consciousness. Standing on the edge between life and death, Kyung-ja spotted a gun inside the car. She grabbed it and shot the car window, shattering the glass and allowing her to escape. After reaching the shore, Kyung-ja felt as if she had been reborn. She believed that God had given her a second chance to punish the evil woman who had tried to kill her. Meanwhile, the authorities soon discovered a dismembered body inside a car at the reservoir. The body in the suitcase belonged to Chun Ae's boyfriend, but the car itself was registered under Kyung-ja's name. To avoid police suspicion, Kyung-ja changed her appearance, hired someone to forge a new identity card and moved to a new place. She searched every corner of South Korea for Emomi, only to eventually discover that Emomi had already been arrested. When Kyung-ja started to believe this was God's judgment and thought about letting it go, the face of Mi-mo suddenly appeared before her. The more she looked at the girl, the more she saw Emomi's face. Since she could no longer deal with Emomi herself, Kyung-ja decided to target her daughter instead. She began selling rice cakes in front of Mi-mo's school. Waiting for a chance to approach the girl, Mi-mo was quickly moved by the kind old woman and even felt closer to her than to her own grandmother. It was Kyung-ja who secretly spread the rumor that Mi-mo's mother was the famous masked girl, causing Mi-mo to be mocked by her classmates. When Mi-mo cried and told Kyung-ja about it, the woman encouraged her to punish anyone who bullied her. This is why Mi-mo slowly became violent. The innocent girl trusted Kyung-ja completely, never realizing that the woman was manipulating her. Even after Mi-mo moved away, Kyung-ja continued to stay in contact with her. She was also the one who tipped off the media about Mi-mo. On that day, Yi-chun had never revealed Mi-mo's secret. The real mastermind behind it all was Kyung-ja. She successfully isolated Mi-mo from the world. After running away from home, Mi-mo went straight to Kyung-ja's house. Kyung-ja then reveals to Emomi that her daughter is now in her hands. She wants Emomi to experience the same unbearable pain of losing a child. Emomi stares at her in shock, but when she tries to speak, Kyung-ja suddenly pretends to be terrified, making everyone believe Emomi is threatening her. The guards quickly rush in and restrain Emomi. She screams desperately that Kyung-ja is going to kill someone, but no one believes a word she says. Mi-mo spends her days happily living with Kyung-ja, unaware that 2 people are desperately worried about her. Emomi goes to Eun-suk for help. Since Eun-suk feels indebted to her, she acts very enthusiastic and promises to help find both Emomi's daughter and her mother. Mi-mo's grandmother goes to the police station to report her granddaughter missing, but because the girl had run away before, the police assume it is the same situation and advise her to wait a little longer. Just as she leaves the station, she receives a call from Mi-mo. The girl says she is doing fine and tells her grandmother not to look for her anymore. The old woman once told Mi-mo that living with her was troublesome because the girl reminded her of that woman, and that everyone at school hated her, so it would be better if she simply disappeared. Mi-mo says she will never contact her again and hangs up. Soon after, the grandmother receives another call. The caller turns out to be Emomi, with Eun-suk's help. She has finally found her mother's phone number. Emomi anxiously asks about Mi-mo, but her mother refuses to talk to her. She simply says that Mi-mo is fine and hangs up immediately. Emomi's call time runs out. The alarm keeps ringing, but she stubbornly keeps dialing and refuses to leave. The guards forcibly drag her away for causing trouble. Luckily, Eun-suk speaks on her behalf. Emomi avoids being thrown into solitary confinement. Eun-suk later tells her that the old woman has changed her name, which makes her very difficult to track down, but she has managed to discover the school where Mi-mo studies. Emomi calls the school using the number Eun-suk gives her. The teacher tells her to wait a moment. But even when the time runs out, there is still no reply from the other side. Suddenly, the voice of a child can be heard, yet Emomi says nothing. In truth, Eun-suk never searched for Mi-mo at all. She hired people to act out a scene and trick Emomi. Emomi seems to sense something is wrong and asks Eun-suk to send her photos of Mi-mo at school. Eun-suk calls one of her men and tells him to hire a girl who looks similar to Mi-mo for the photos. When Emomi sees the picture, she finally feels relieved. Eun-suk also feels reassured, because the surgery is scheduled for tomorrow. She wants Emomi to remain calm and cooperative so she can donate a kidney to save her daughter. At the same time, Kyungja is out buying supplies. Rope, tape, and quick-burn charcoal. The shopkeeper watches her suspiciously, because when combined, these items look like tools for murder. After returning home, she hides the bag and hurriedly looks for Mi-mo. The girl is not there to greet her like usual, which makes Kyungja panic, afraid that the prey she has been raising for days has suddenly escaped. Just as she begins to worry, Mi-mo suddenly appears behind her, holding a plate of cake and singing happy birthday. It is a surprise she has carefully prepared. Mi-mo tells Kyungja that she sees her as her real grandmother. Those words make the old woman hesitate for a moment. Later that night, after Mi-mo falls asleep, Kyungja begins preparing her plan. She pulls aside a large shelf, revealing a hidden door that leads to a basement. Her eyes suddenly become cold and determined. Meanwhile in prison, Emomi carefully studies the photo of her daughter that Eun-suk gave her. Without hesitation, she tears it apart as if she has finally realized that Eun-suk has been lying to her. The next morning, before leaving, Emomi hugs her cellmate tightly. Eun-suk has prepared ordinary clothes for her. No one outside knows anything about this surgery. The guard warns Emomi not to do anything reckless at the hospital. Before the operation begins, Emomi asks the guard to bring her a Bible. It is a major surgery. She fears something might go wrong. The guard immediately handcuffs her and goes to fetch the Bible. Now only one guard is left watching her. Suddenly, Emomi says she urgently needs to use the restroom. Although annoyed, the guard agrees, but keeps her handcuffed just to be safe. This makes Emomi furious. She says she is not here for herself but to save someone else's life. She refuses to donate her kidney if she is treated in such an inhumane way. When the guard sees Emomi about to report this to Eun-suk, she finally gives in and walks over to remove the handcuffs. That is exactly what Emomi has been waiting for. The moment the guard turns around, Emomi grabs the toilet lid and smashes it against her head. She quickly takes the guard's phone and shoes. When she sees one of Eun-suk's men waiting outside, she realizes she cannot escape through the main entrance. The only way out is the window, even though she is several floors up. At that moment, the guard who went to get the Bible returns. Her scream alerts Eun-suk's man who rushes inside. Emomi has already climbed out the window. Seeing the man rushing toward her, she suddenly lets go and falls onto the hospital's rooftop awning. The impact is extremely painful, but she forces herself to move, then jumps down again and crashes onto the ground below. Right then, a car speeds forward and slams into her, sending her flying. The driver assumes Emomi is dead and nervously gets out to check, but Emomi slowly wakes up. Ignoring the intense pain throughout her body, she struggles to stand and keeps walking. She gets into the driver's car and drives away, leaving the furious guard and Eun-suk's man behind. Emomi has successfully escaped, but she has no idea where to find her daughter. In desperation, she calls her mother, begging her not to hang up and telling her that Mi-mo is in danger. At the same time, Mi-mo's grandmother is already on her way to search for the girl. Yi-chun has come to see the grandmother and discovers that it was actually the rice cake seller who spread the rumor that Mi-mo is the daughter of the masked girl. But Mi-mo said the woman treated her kindly, so Yi-chun cannot understand why she would do such a thing. The two of them take a taxi to Kyungja's house. Just then, Emomi calls again and tells her mother the truth. The rice cake seller is the mother of Ju Oh-nam. All this time, she has been lingering around Mi-mo, planning to destroy the girl's life. Now Mi-mo is with her. She is in serious danger. Kyungja prepares breakfast in the morning, secretly slipping sleeping pills into Mi-mo's soup. Today is the day she plans to carry out her scheme. Mi-mo remains completely unaware. She happily tells Kyungja that one day she wants to make a lot of money, take her traveling and buy her nice clothes and delicious food. Even Kyungja's own son never said such things to her. For a moment, she cannot bring herself to look into the girl's eyes, but in the end, hatred overwhelms her reason. After the drug takes effect, she carries Mi-mo down to the basement and ties her up, even setting up a camera to record everything. But Mi-mo wakes up earlier than Kyungja expected. Kyungja tells the girl that none of this is her fault. She is only doing this to take revenge on her mother, the woman who killed her son. She says she never wanted to go this far, but when she saw Emomi living peacefully in prison, claiming that God had forgiven her, the anger inside her exploded again. Kyungja turns on the camera, planning to send Mi-mo's final moments to her mother. Meanwhile, Emomi is rushing toward Kyungja's house when the car suddenly runs out of gas. She gets out and waves for help. a kind woman stops her car. Emomi's appearance makes the woman uneasy. So Emomi lies and says she fought with her husband and was abandoned there. Feeling sympathy, the woman agrees to help even though it is not on her way. Then the radio begins broadcasting news about the masked girl escaping from prison. The description matches Emomi perfectly. Realizing the woman has likely figured it out, Emomi quickly asks to get out of the car and runs into the mountains. Back at the house, Kyungja prepares to burn charcoal, planning to suffocate Mi-emo in the basement. Mi-emo looks at her and cries desperately. For a brief moment, Kyungja softens and removes the tape covering the girl's mouth. Mi-emo says she feels cold. So Kyungja even takes off her own coat and covers the girl with it. But when Mi-emo begs her to let her go, Kyungja quickly covers her mouth again. The doorbell suddenly rings. When Kyungja opens the door, she finds a police officer outside. Mi-emo's grandmother has reported that a middle school girl is being held captive here. Kyungja is startled but has no choice but to let the officer inside to check. Down in the basement, Mi-emo screams for help. But because her mouth is taped, nothing can be heard upstairs. The officer searches around the house and finds nothing suspicious. Just as he is about to leave, he suddenly hears a faint cry for help. Mi-emo has managed to force the tape off her mouth. However, right at that moment, his radio reports that an escaped prisoner has been spotted nearby, forcing him to leave immediately. That prisoner is Emomi, who is desperately racing to save her daughter. Kyungja decides she can no longer hesitate and pushes forward with her plan. She tells herself that this is simply justice. After lighting the charcoal, she leaves Mi-emo in the basement and goes upstairs. At that moment, Mi-emo's grandmother arrives. She hears her granddaughter crying from below and tries to go down to rescue her, but Kyungja blocks the way and pushes her to the ground. Just then, Yichun appears. The grandmother holds Kyungja back and signals Yichun to go save Mi-emo. Inside the basement, the charcoal smoke is already filling the air. Mi-emo is nearly unconscious. Yichun quickly rushes over to turn off the stove and tries to wake her friend. Through tears, she apologizes for lying before. She says she only did it because she liked Mi-emo so much. She never revealed her secret. She hugs her friend tightly while crying, thanks to Mi-emo's weak reminder. Yichun remembers that saving her is the most important thing, but the ropes are tied too tightly for her to untie. Upstairs, the two elderly women struggle fiercely. In terms of strength, Kyungja clearly has the advantage. She grabs a pair of scissors and stabs Mi-emo's grandmother. Fortunately, Emomi suddenly arrives and knocks Kyungja unconscious with a blow to the head. Emomi looks at her wounded mother with guilt, but the older woman urges her to hurry downstairs and save Mi-emo. Emomi finally sees the daughter she has not met since the day she was born. She cannot bring herself to say a word and silently unties the ropes. Just as they prepare to leave the basement, Kyungja suddenly appears again, holding a blood-stained knife. Emomi realizes that her mother may already be dying. She glares at Kyungja, unable to believe she has truly gone this far. Kyungja says this is simply the consequence of Emomi's own actions. As she approaches them, Emomi senses something strange. Suddenly, Kyungja pulls out a gun hidden inside a jar. Emomi rushes forward to stop her and tells the two girls to run. Mi-emo sees her grandmother lying on the floor covered in blood. Filled with regret, she cries and apologizes. With her last bit of strength, the grandmother holds the girl's hand, apologizes to her and then quietly passes away. Meanwhile, the brutal fight in the basement continues. Emomi knocks Kyungja down and tries to choke her, but Kyungja refuses to give up. She grabs a sack nearby and repeatedly strikes Emomi, throwing her to the ground and dragging her by the hair. Both women are completely exhausted, yet they force themselves to stand again. This battle will not end until one of them dies. Kyungja grabs the gun, but Emomi knocks it away at the right moment and punches her repeatedly. Kyungja still manages to grab a heavy lid and smash it against Emomi's head. Their bodies are nearly out of strength, but their eyes remain filled with determination. Kyungja gathers the last of her strength and charges forward. Suddenly, footsteps echo above. The police have surrounded the entire area. Emomi raises her hands and surrenders. She has done everything she needed to do, and she no longer has the will to resist. It seems like everything is finally over, but Kyungja refuses to let it end. She raises her gun toward Emomi, then suddenly turns it toward Mi-emo. At the moment she fires, the police shoot Kyungja in the head. Emomi manages to shield her daughter just in time. She looks into Mi-emo's eyes and gives a peaceful smile. Mi-emo holds the lifeless woman in her arms. She realizes that this woman is her mother. Now she finally understands how much her mother loved her. A child born from the grudges of adults ends up being the only one who survives. From that day on, Mi-emo no longer feels hatred toward others. Later, she finds a videotape left behind by her mother. Watching the footage of 5-year-old Kim Emomi shining brightly on stage, Mi-emo begins to cry, and then, without realizing it, she slowly smiles.